Good morning to you. For Telesur, I'm Regan Devines in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the headlines. Guatemalan President Otto Perez Molina claims he will stay in power despite growing calls and protests demanding his resignation. Claims of a gang purge as members of the Barrio 18 gang are killed in a Salvadorian prison. And over 1,000 Syrian refugees arrive in Serbia. We'll give you the latest in the region's ongoing migrant crisis. Thank you for being here with us on From the South. We start this Monday morning in Guatemala, where President Otto Perez Molina has stated that he will not resign despite calls for his impeachment by the government and the United Nations. A judge visited Molina on Sunday at the presidential residence to check on his safety and location since he had not been seen in public for over 48 hours, and some believe he might have fled the country. Former Vice President Roxana Baldetti was arrested on Friday over the massive graft scandal believed to be headed by Molina, known as La Línea. In a combative, pre-recorded address televised to the nation, Molina said he had received no money from the customs racket, to which investigators have linked him, and stressed that his conscience was clear.
I declare categorically that I reject any link to it, the scandal, or having received money from that money defrauding operation. My conscience, in that sense, is at peace. I will show my face and show before the institutions that by law is required, through the necessary process, that I have not been part of, and even less, a receptor of those ill-gotten funds against the Guatemalan people.
7 members of President Molina's cabinet have resigned so far over the corruption scandal. The last were the agriculture and health ministers who quit on Sunday. Their resignations followed 2 others on Saturday who said they could no longer serve in his government.
You all know what has led to this and what was announced by the Public Ministry and the CICIG. And therefore, we feel we're disappointed by these results, and we consider that under the principles and the values that we have maintained in our position throughout these almost 4 years, because of those same principles and values, we are no longer able to continue in our positions.
We believe that has been achieved with that team. The cabinet ministers can continue to function, but we cannot continue to be part of a cabinet under the circumstances now.
We head now to El Salvador, where 14 members of one of the country's most powerful street gangs were killed in a prison on Saturday in what appeared to be an internal gang purge. The killing took place in Quetzaltepeque, about 30 kilometers northwest of the capital, San Salvador. It has been linked to an internal dispute involving the Barrio 18 gang. The bodies of the victims were found among some garbage bins in various parts of the prison. A state of emergency was declared for 72 hours at the jail.
They did everything in a very silent way. During the day, everything was completely normal. And, as I explained at 6 in the afternoon, that we started as we do every day to do the routine count. And in that way, it was that we perceived these deaths.
And still in El Salvador, an opposition figure was arrested on Sunday alongside 4 gang members. The detainee has been identified as Alberto Romero, a bodyguard that worked for the right-wing Arena opposition political party. The ruling leftist FMLN party has accused the opposition of collaborating with organized crime groups in order to foment instability in the country. A major fire ripped through a private nursing home in Caracas on Sunday night, killing 8 elderly people. 30 others were rescued by firefighters and 10 were treated for smoke inhalation but were not thought to be seriously ill. The fire broke out when the residents were getting ready for bed. Authorities say it's a miracle that there were no more victims and accused the nursing home of not providing enough staff. Reports are that some of the fire extinguishers were not working. And the Cotopaxi volcano keeps spewing ashes and smoke, creating an ash layer that has covered nearby towns with a thick coat of soot. This forced the authorities to declare a state of emergency. Livestock are feeding on the soot and their caretakers are worried they will lose them if it doesn't rain soon. And now a brief of other stories making headlines across the globe.
A blast has ripped through a warehouse at a U.S. military post near Tokyo, leaving no injuries. The explosion occurred in the city of Sagamihara, about 40 kilometers southwest of the Japanese capital. The warehouse stored various things, including oxygen tanks, but firefighters have not noticed any physical damage to nearby buildings or the presence of any toxic fumes. Former Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis met former French counterpart Arnaud Montebourg to discuss anti-austerity measures at an event of the French Socialist Party on Sunday. Varoufakis said that he has never been a member of Syriza because Alexis Tsipras never let him. He also accused the Prime Minister of falling prey to his ego and abandoning his supporters.
I never was a member of Syriza. Alexis Tsipras never let me be one. He thought that I would serve his government more efficiently if I was outside the shenanigans of the party. My soul is with Syriza, and my soul is broken up by the division that the 12th of July capitulation has caused.
Militants of the Islamic State of Daesh claimed Sunday that they had blown up the temple of Baal Shaman in Palmyra, one of the most important sites in Syria's ancient city. If true, it will be the first time the insurgent, who controlled swath of Syria and Iraq and captured Palmyra in May, damaged monumental Roman-era ruins. In June, Daesh blew up 2 ancient shrines in Palmyra, which the militant regarded as pagan and sacrilegious. Palmyra's head of antiquity was beheaded by Daesh militants a week ago. More than 1,000 refugees have crossed into Serbia after an overwhelmed Macedonia gave up its attempts to stop the flow by force. The migrants from the Middle East, Africa, and Asia are expected to continue their journey further north and cross by foot into Hungary and Europe's borderless Schengen zone. And in Italy, the Coast Guard has rescued 4,400 refugees over the weekend. Some 500 migrants are expected to arrive in the Sicilian port of Palermo later on Monday, with some 1,000 expected to arrive in Sardinia later in the day. More than 2,300 people have died this year in the Mediterranean in attempts to reach Europe by boat. Protests against Beirut's worsening waste disposal crisis continue to escalate on Sunday. Around 10,000 demonstrators rallied near the government's-run cereal palace to demand the government's resignation over its failure to remove uncollected rubbish from the streets. Lebanon's largest landfill was closed in July due to overcapacity. The Iranian embassy in London reopened on Sunday, following the reopening of the British embassy in Tehran of the same day. The reopening took place after a 4-year closure after Iranian protesters stormed the British embassy during a demonstration over Britain's nuclear-related sanctions against the country in 2011.
He is described as the fastest man in the world. Usain Bolt has once again made it at the 100 meters World Championships final in Beijing. However, Sunday's race was a very tight win. The Jamaican managed to reassert his world title when he passed US sprinter Justin Gatlin over the last 30 meters and crossed the line with a time of 9.79 seconds, his fastest run of the year. Gatlin finished second with 9.8 seconds to take silver, while Andre DeGrasse of Canada and American Trayvon Bromell finished together in third place with a time of 9.92 seconds. Bolt has not been beaten in the 100-meter or 200-meter categories in 6 major global championships since the year 2007. A Bolt, right? And finally this morning, the world's tallest climate observatory has been inaugurated in Brazil's Amazon. Torre Alta Observatory is located in the Guatemalan Ecological Reserve and at 325 meters is just 1 meter shorter than the Eiffel Tower. Scientists expect to study changes on the climate for the next 30 years. They said it will help to better understand that role, the role the Amazon plays in these forested regions, which has an effect on not only the local climate but on the global climate as well. For more on these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Regan Devines. We'll have another news brief for you at midday.